Welcome everybody to But Why Though Reviews, and today we're going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I'm going to be hosting today, Matt, and I'll be joined by Swara.
Hello, thank you for having me again.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'm excited to I'm excited to be here and to do this one.
Me too. Not to get too far ahead, but Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves is a fantastic film, so I can't wait to discuss it.
So I guess we'll start right off. I guess what was your expectations going into this film then?
I'm not sure. Like I saw the trailers, I thought it looked fun, it looked irreverent, it had a great cast. Obviously, Chris Pine's a fantastic leading man in virtually anything he does. He was even great in the trash fire that is Wonder Woman 84. So he was like really great. I was really excited to see him. I'll be honest and say, like, I'm not someone who's really done Dungeons and Dragons that much at all. I played like maybe one or two sessions, and that's it. And I am familiar with the game. I have many friends that are into the game, such as yourself. And I didn't know. I guess I expected a fun, comedic fantasy film, and that's essentially what I got. And I'm really glad to say that. But I also got something deeper and more understanding about Dungeons and Dragons in general, which I think will be really great for audiences going in who don't know much about the game themselves. So, yeah, I think I got most of what I expected and hoped for, and then some. So I'm really glad about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I'm like you, I was excited for this. Obviously, I also love Chris Pine. I'm not really the tabletop Dungeons and Dragons person, but I played some of the video games that gone along with it and everything else from there. So obviously, I knew about Dungeons and Dragons and everything. And then I was excited for a fantasy movie, like a fantasy comedy movie with some lore stuff. You can't go wrong with that. But no, I was excited, and also like you, this movie is a lot better than it probably most people probably thought it was going to be.
Yeah, totally. It's just like there's so much heart in it, and along with the comedy, but still takes itself seriously to the degree it needs to. And in a way, like it's not just like your typical fantasy film. It feels as though you are in literally in the middle of a Dungeons and Dragons game, but I don't know. There's so many moving parts, but they still like go well together in the cohesive whole of the movie. So we'll discuss this more as we go along.
Yeah, I guess we can dive right in. I guess what was the good? What did you? I mean, you talked a lot about what you like. What is there anything specific you feel like you really need to discuss here?
I mean, I just think the action was really great. I love literally all of the characters. One of my favorites in particular was Holga. Michelle Rodriguez did a fantastic job playing her, and it's like I love that like all the characters got like interiority to some degree or another, and that's like really hard to do with like a relatively large cast such as this. But the director, I forget the director for the film actually, but they did a fantastic job with this. They just really balanced everyone out really well. And the other thing I love were the villains. The villains were so much fun. They were cartoonishly evil in the best way possible. And sometimes that's all you want. You just want like a good baddie who's just like you chews up scenery and is just like evil for the sake of being evil. And it's just like hilarious to watch their interactions with the heroes as well. And yeah, like I love the immersiveness of this world and the understanding that is D&D from the get-go. Like we literally have at the start of the film, Chris Pine's character, I believe his name is Eric or something like that, like make a choice. And that's literally how a Dungeons and Dragons game goes. You have to make a choice that like will have you go one way or the other. And uh it was just like so deliberate. This script was very witty as it was going throughout the film. And yeah, it just like it's just like such a joyful, delightful, and charming film, like with all the pieces that come together with it. So that's what I mean, that's like the bare summary of like what I really loved about it.
Yeah, so the director is Sweet, aka from Bones, John Francis Daley, and obviously he talked a lot about how much he likes Dungeons and Dragons and over the years and everything. And I think he did a great. I think him and I think Jonathan Goldstein did a great job of like showcasing the Dungeons and Dragons part. Or obviously, I got to watch this movie at the premiere of the actual South by Southwest like world premiere of this film, and so the good part, as much as I love the movie, was also like the cast in those premieres. You get to watch it with the cast, and so like we got to see like Chris Pine like cheering on and everybody that come on everybody that came on screen and all the stuff and everybody going crazy. And so like that excitement and everything and like the joyfulness of like how they were kind of like just watching the movie, you could actually tell on the screen. Like the chemistry between all the characters was great. Like I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think Michelle Rodriguez and Chris Pine was gonna work as well as it did. And it ended up being fantastic. Um, no, I think the action plays out pretty well. You can tell there's some practical. It doesn't feel fake, even though because that's been my problem with some
Right.
movies. They feel fake. Like, were we here? But overall, like I said, I think the comedy really lands, and I think they do a good job of
Hmm.
one obviously hitting the comedy, but then doing. Let's say, if you are a fan of Dungeons and Dragons and you know some backstory, there are moments and pieces in this movie for you. And if you have no idea, you're just here for an adventure fantasy movie and you're like, cool, swords and monsters and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt like as someone who hasn't played Dungeons and Dragons that much. And it made me more interested in getting into the game itself. Like I've talked with my girlfriend after we watched it about like potentially starting our own D&D campaign with friends or something like that. And that is if we have the time, because Dungeons and Dragons is a
Yeah,
very
it's
like
definitely a time sink.
intensive, immersive game. Yes. Yes, exactly. But at least we have like the films, and I hope like another sequel. I really hope we get a sequel after this. It's just like this is like it feels like a never ending journey in a great way. And like these are characters that you want to spend more time with. They have such great charm and chemistry with one another. And you see the story, the expansiveness of the world is really great. It's a lot, but it's not overbearing. We get to see. I also want to talk about the cinematography. The cinematography is gorgeous. We saw so many
Yes.
beautiful establishing shots in forests and like the beaches. Like the castles, the bays, like everywhere was just gorgeous. And honestly, like I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about like CGI and how that's used in like, big budget films. I personally love the usage of CGI in this film. I thought it was like much more immersive and detailed than say like a lot of MCU movies or other superhero movies have been doing. And it just like it really served a purpose, I felt. And I yeah, like I feel like this film just like really revels and takes joy in the adventure that you're going on as the audience along with this main cast. And it just like really, yeah, again, it takes that joy, it just has that fun, it just it this is something else that the entire film does really well. It
Okay.
balances the irreverence. Like they make jokes, they're irreverent about it, but they also like take it seriously where they need to. And nothing feels really that jarring. It just feels like it meshes together really well. And you can tell like, Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, the rest of the cast that they are like real Justice Smith, they are really in it. They really like they made this feel like a lived-in world in the best way possible. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I
part of why I really love
I
this
think
film.
yeah, no. And obviously talked about like we talked a little about chemistry stuff. I think the cool thing for me, which we get out of this movie, is we do get the power of friendship that you get in D&D, and we get it kind of in a little unique way. I don't want to obviously spoil the
Hmm.
movie, but like what they end up doing, the relationship that we see between Michelle Rodriguez's character and Chris Pine, I feel is a very unique relationship that we don't see often, to be honest. And I really enjoyed what they did with it. And it was just this very tight knit friendship and this bond, which
Hmm.
obviously D&D you talk about we bond, we go on an adventure, blah blah. But those two characters explicitly, and just the bond that they show and the chemistry of everything, I think it just is really unique. Something that I feel like we have not seen in a while, in the way they showcased it.
I absolutely agree. And it was also, I think what you're sort of hinting at, it was really great that it was just platonic. They're
Oh
not
yeah,
romantically involved. They're just like really great friends. And that's like important to see as well. They're partners, they're like thieves together. They like I mean, this is like part of the premise of the film. Like, they help raise families together, but they're not
Yep.
romantically involved, and that's a normal family unit for them. And that theme of family, that legitimately that theme of found family in this film, like, is strong throughout. And it's just like, again, like, it takes itself like seriously in the points that it needs to, while still striking that irreverence and having fun on that adventure, even while like there are dramatic or tragic or life-threatening situations going on around them. They have that bond so strongly together, and that's like, yeah, from that, like, I understand more about, oh, this is why people love Dungeons and Dragons so much. This is why people like do this weekly with each other. There's that sense and thrill of adventure with your best buds that you want to go on, and that's why Dungeons and Dragons is such an enduring game and will continue to be for many years to come.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I guess real quick before we get to like, I guess some of the things you didn't like. What was your favorite character?
Oof, it's hard, but I think I still got to go with Holga. Like, I loved her. Thought she was fantastic. And Michelle Rodriguez, like, she was a relatively subdued performance. I won't go ahead and say that Michelle Rodriguez is necessarily the best actor, but like, for what she did, I thought it was really great. And I think that she just like, she was like charming and funny, but also like a badass. And it's great to see like a brown woman character like be in such a prominent role. And yeah, I really loved her character. I thought, and I really want to see more of all the entire cast. Yeah. So yeah, she was definitely my
Awesome.
favorite, but I love them all.
Oh, that's fair. Obviously, I'm going with Chris Pine. Obviously, for people that watch this, they know that Kate's
So
out here,
good.
and I was told that I had to put this thing of clearly the paladin of how do you say the name? Enk? It's Xenk.
Regé
It's
Jean
well, I
Penn.
know the name, but like, what is his
Yes.
character's name?
Oh, shoot. I
Because
forget his
it's
name. There are a lot of
Xenk, and I don't know
characters.
how to say that.
Xenk. Zenk, I
Yeah,
think.
Zank. I guess it's just pronounced Zank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I had to give a shout out for that, so I didn't get paladined by her for the
yeah.
um
I mean, he was great. He was
he
great
is.
in like how seriously he took the role, and like he just like, it was so funny in his seriousness. And like there were various like kinds of comedy come from the various characters throughout the movie. It's so good, and I can't wait to watch it again.
Yes. Which kind of we get to the next part, kind of sadly the bad. And I will say honestly, there's not much I don't dislike about this movie, but the only thing, since I did also want to bring up the paladin, I thought we were going to get more of him. I was kind of sad that we were kind of
Hmm.
limited in his character. But overall, I guess that's about what I had. The story's a little messy, but not much, to be honest. It's an adventure D&D movie.
Yeah.
um, I don't know if you had
Yeah,
anything
I
that stood out to you.
I felt the plot was like very straightforward. I will say, like, maybe once or twice there is like a cheesy moment, particularly like with the villains, but they didn't really bother me that much. Like, this isn't a perfect movie. It's a great film, but it's like not, you know, high caliber cinema or something. It's still like but it's a very fun, emotional romp. And I think that for what it is, it does a great job at what it does. And, like, yeah, I think it's like maybe a little, maybe uh the plot to the script could use some work, maybe some more polishing and one patch or two, but overall still really great. I can't find much to say bad about
No,
this
I can't
movie.
either. I said probably the only thing that should be interesting because we do get a lot of stuff, and I guess it depends on what they end up doing with this movie, which is not even necessarily negative. Of like, there are a lot of characters and a lot of people that pop up that you're like, are we seeing more of you? And because I mean, I wouldn't be obviously we'll see what they get, how
Right.
successful or this movie is, but I mean, they clearly have the building components to do more. I don't think that, and the characters are still fresh. We see everything.
Hmm.
But no,
Yeah,
I said I don't know. I
totally.
enjoyed
I
this
mean,
movie a lot.
I'm honestly down for a lot of spin-offs. And yeah, I'm honestly down for there to be a lot of spin-offs and for this to be like its own cinematic universe. And that's what D&D is built for, like endless adventures. Like, I'm not, despite like, how much like both you and I may have complained about the cinematic universe, particularly the MCU and maybe one or two other cinematic universes, it's not inherently a bad concept. If you
No.
can do it well, if you can like make it so that like each story stands on its own and happens to take place in the same universe, that's it. Just let the story stand on their own. I think that this absolutely has that potential with sequels and spin-offs and like just yeah, you can let these characters breathe and do their own thing without there needing to be some like universe or world ending threat coming for everyone that we need to build for. Like, I'm tired of that. Give us no more of that, please, MCU. I don't. I'm just gonna go. I mean, don't get me wrong. Jonathan Majors is great as Kang. I'm not scared by Kang. I'm sorry. I just like I Quantum Mania has been out enough long enough already. I think the mid credit scene with Kang was goofy, and I just like don't. I'm not threatened. I hope like he gets better, obviously, and Jonathan Majors is great, but the way they've been doing it has been. Sorry, I feel like
But
each
good
of
news
these
is,
non-MCU reviews, I'm complaining about the MCU,
yeah, I
but
was like,
like
but
this is
none
just
of
so
this,
much better.
yeah. But obviously to detract back to the Great Dungeons and Dragon thing. I know we
Sure.
didn't talk about him a lot. I know we're kind of in the bad section of thing. Hugh Grant, what did you think of Hugh Grant?
Oh yeah, I thought he was great. I love like Hugh Grant as a villain. Like, the same as like he was essentially playing the same type of character as he was in Paddington 2 as the villain. And he's great in this. He's great at this as a jolly Englishman who is also a rotten bastard. And that was great. I loved it. Give us more Hugh Grant like that. So yeah, I thought he was great.
Absolutely. And I guess is there anything else before we try to get to our last part here that you want to say?
I'm just trying to think. I still gotta give like my hats off to the visual effects. I thought they were like done really well, and I would love to hear some of your thoughts on that as well, actually,
So
about the CGI and visual effects.
so the good news, as I've always talked about with CGI, is I've always been CGI as a pizza person of like I don't if you like 95% of it's fine. I can tell when it's really really good and I can tell when it's really really bad. And so most of the time it doesn't bother me as long as I
Mhm.
don't notice it doesn't bother me. In this movie it didn't bother me. I think like you talked about with the visuals of the landscapes and everything I thought was great, gorgeous. I mean I'm a sucker for those. I'm not going to lie. You give me a landscape I don't have to do
They're
anything.
so good.
Like I said, I worked in the field for a while. I have plenty of landscape photos. I think for a while Kate used to get mad at me because I had more landscape photos than her. So seeing them like done with actual photographers and professionals and not just me and my random small little phone camera, definitely a big sucker for
Yeah.
them. So when they're done well, I love it. But no, I think overall there's a few parts that I guess you can be like, they look a little funky, but overall, like it looked fine, it looked good to me. And I guess once you do
Mhm.
that, it doesn't take you out of the story, which
Yeah.
allows you to then focus on the story, which then allows you to focus on the characters. And I'm not wondering like, is this person here? Are you in a blockbuster parking lot? Um, and so yeah, no, I thought they did it really well done. So I guess the
Yeah,
last part
same.
here. So I
Totally
guess the last
agreed.
part here. I guess should people go see this movie? I know we have a little while. This will be out a little before, like good while before the movie comes out. But should they go see it?
Yeah, 100%. They should go see it. If you are comfortable and willing and able to go into a theater, I highly suggest that you go in and yeah, just enjoy this film. I might see it again in theaters with friends, and I like, yeah, I haven't felt this good about a film in a while. I will say, and give a side note, I actually just came out of Shazam 2. I reviewed it for the website, so y'all should check it out. That's my early plug. And I felt like the same way like I did with this film. And just like something that's, a good quality, feel good film that just like takes its work seriously and doesn't take it over seriously, that strikes such a good balance and just has heart. Just give us more heart in these films. Like we go for these characters. The CGI and action is good and exciting, but if you don't have like a good core and heart of these characters, then you're gonna lose us. That's like how we lost in Quantumania and like other MCU films and even other movies. Um, yeah, I just like want more films like these, please, and for them to also know what they are, You don't have to be high caliber cinema. You can just be a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Just like go and have fun with it. That's all I want. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think if you're able to, I definitely recommend going to check it out. It's a lot of fun. I think it's actually well done. It's by far the best Dungeons and Dragons movie we have ever seen. Which there's a few of them. They're not great. And no, but I think it's worth. I think it's definitely worth checking out and seeing. I hope this movie is successful. I think they did a lot. Ugh, like you said, they knew what they were, and I think that's the best part for me. They kind of blended well of like they had serious tone, but then they kind of leaned back, but they, knowing we are Dungeons and Dragons, but in the day, like that is playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's moments where you're fighting a boss, and then there's moments where you're just messing around. And so I think they did a good job mixing and matching and very well.
Agreed.
Cool. All right, and I guess that will be all for our lovely review. I guess, Laura, can you tell everybody where they can find you at as we get out of here?
Thank you again for having me. Y'all can find me on Twitter at Spider Swars. I am on Instagram at Swarzy_8. I am a freelance contributor. I've written for But Why Though, The Nerds of Color, for The New Arab, for Polygon, IO9, other websites. You all can check out my work there. And I co-host a podcast under the Nerds of Color podcast network called The Middle Geeks. We are two Middle Eastern fans who discuss anything and everything related to Middle East and North African media and give our takes on it. So check us out on the Nerds of Color podcast network.
Awesome. And thanks again for joining me. Obviously, I'm Matt, and you can find all my stuff at But Why Though, and all of our things around there, and all the lovely hard work that everybody be doing. Thanks again.